Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, October 25th, 2021, and okay, I'm just going to say it straight up. Alec Baldwin shot somebody. A couple different things are going on around the world, so let's just literally dive right into it. Obviously, I'm going to delve into more detail than that, but anyways. First off, boosters may soon be mandatory to be considered fully vaccinated, says CDC Director Walensky. I'm not even trying to be sarcastic. I'm going to let you folks take that as you wish because, again, I think we all hear enough of this COVID stuff during the day. So anyways, the next thing is that the U.S. National School Board Association announces, and I quote, "We regret and apologize for the letter," end quote, to the Biden administration characterizing protesting parents as a, quote, "form of domestic terrorism," end quote. Good to see that there was a retraction and they admitted they made a mistake. The problem is that in terms of the information being disseminated and put out there to other parents that, were very polarized by this event, the damage is already done. But I mean, listen, to give them the benefit of the doubt, they did say they made a mistake characterizing protesting parents as a form of domestic terrorism. I mean, that's intense. That's not something that you can just lightly, brazen over, so to speak. So I can understand the frustration and the anger coming from many different people on many different sides, really. The next thing is that the Alec Baldwin shooting victim, Helena Hutchins, was the wife of the lawyer for the powerhouse law firm Latham and Watkins. She was also setting on to make a documentary about Hollywood pedophiles after shooting this particular film. Earlier this year, the law firm Latham and Watkins represented a Sussman who intentionally misled the FBI because he was acting at the time on behalf of an unnamed tech executive, a, quote, U.S. internet company, end quote, and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. New details were revealed today. Before the tragic accident, the assistant director assured Baldwin that the prop gun did not contain live rounds, and he fired it directly at the camera in a rehearsal scene, in a form of a rehearsal. Again, I'm not saying Alec Baldwin knew about this. It's kind of ironic looking at the karma about how he's tweeted, like, oh, it's nice to know that I haven't killed anyone or something like this in a reference to taking a shot at Trump, and then all of a sudden this happens. It's kind of ironic. Again, I'm not trying to say that's karma, that's the ultimate, sort of tit for tat move there. But again, we also have to keep in mind the potential possibility of these things happening for many. When I say these things, I'm referring to the shooting that sadly occurred on set there. Again, it's up for interpretation as to what we could perceive it to be. Because this is a Kraken episode, I don't want to delve into too many details. The public episodes coming up will sort of touch on that, but we will really delve into it in the members episodes because, again, due to the censorship and all of that, but make of the Alec Baldwin shooting what you will, right? The next thing is that Turkey's Erdogan declares ambassadors of the U.S., Germany, and several other countries, quote, persona non grata, end quote, after they called for the release of a jailed opposition figure. Okay. I mean, it's his country. He could do it, technically speaking. It's his country, right? Like, I understand the strategic, quote-unquote power balance of many other things and apparatuses, but ultimately, it's his nation. So, I mean, I'm not trying to defend him in any way, shape, or form, but again, if he knows that he's, heating up tensions, then, I mean, this is going to do that. The next thing is that a large migrant caravan has left Tapachula, Mexico for the U.S. The migrants, mostly from Central America, are carrying banners that read, quote, "We come in peace," and "Joe Biden is for everyone," end quote, according to Politico. Now, as of a recent update, according to Disclosed TV, but we can see the footage too, so it's not just like they made this up and you can't tell if it's true or not. The migrant caravan just overran a roadblock set up by forces of the Mexican Institute Nacional de Migración. Again, they're just... This is the thing. This is the tough issue, right? I agree with Trump in the sense that people coming in must be strongly vetted, but it's generally known that more and more people come to the border when a Democrat is in power, if you look at the statistics and the data, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, again... The other thing, too, is that I have to be honest, I'm not trying to sound like Trump here, but in a lot of cases, we don't even know who's coming in. And we see, Jen Psaki, the press secretary for Joe Biden, doing these daily press briefings or, every other day or what have you. And she's dodging the question about, are these immigrants being tested for COVID? And are they, put under the same strict enforcement and I guess we can argue very strongly coercion that the rest of America is or will have to go through? And she just doesn't answer the question. So, take that as you will as well. The next thing is that the Biden White House has delayed the release of the second batch of JFK assassination files, citing until December 2022, citing, quote, significant impact of the pandemic, end quote. Yeah, okay, BS. They're just going to push it back more and more and more. I wonder if this particular set of files even contains anything, I guess you could say, newsworthy or, worthy of revelations, if you will. But look at, it's a scam. They declassify when all these guys that had any role in it, or the vast majority of them, are dead, and the ones that are still alive are not going to be touched anyways. It's a scam. It's, just my opinion. But the next thing is that Dr. Fauci's NIH division partly funded a lab to drug dogs and, quote, lock their heads in cages filled with hungry sandflies so that the insects could eat them alive, end quote, an investigation found. Some of the dogs had their vocal cords removed so scientists could work, quote unquote, work, without incessant barking. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the division of the National Institute of Health run by Anthony Fauci, is, quote, testing on animals for close to 4 decades. They've been testing on animals for close to 4 decades, and failing to produce results for just as long, end quote. I'm about to throw a fit of anger with hearing that. I mean, a lot of you know that I'm a big animal person, and even, it's very difficult to give my own personal opinion and put that aside. I don't even want to... And this is the guy the country looks up to, and this is the guy that the mainstream media is putting on a pedestal. I don't even want to get started. I don't want to curse with the profanity. I think you folks know where I reside with that. I am not happy to hear that whatsoever. This guy should be fired. He should lose his pension. He should lose everything. Everything. The next thing is that the NASA director Bill Nelson says he hopes that UFOs are not originating from an adversary here on Earth in an unprecedented new statement. Again, these guys, these government officials, as the day goes by more and more, as the days go by, they're walking right up to that metaphorical line, but they're not crossing it. So the next thing is that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is building a taxpayer-funded $450,000 security fence around Biden's Delaware beach house. The barrier is currently in progress and is planned to be finished by December 31st of this year. Okay, to be fair, allegedly Trump and his family and his team used a lot of taxpayers' dollars as well. So if we're going to be consistent here, I just want to, be fair and play both sides. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think there are more things to be outraged over in terms of what taxpayers' dollars are being spent on. This is not something to be glazed over. Don't get me wrong. Almost $500,000 is big, but at the same time, I think once or hopefully when there comes a point, I say that optimistically, where people start saying, okay, enough. We want to know what you're doing with our tax dollars in a much more allocated and delegated way. That's when things like this will stop. Until then, I think politicians are going to be doing this all the time. Look at Pete Buttigieg, the head of transportation. I think he just took a 3-month maternity leave, if I'm not mistaken, during the largest crisis arguably in modern American history, with everything at the ports stocking up, and Jen Psaki saying, oh, there's the crates at the ports are stocked up because people's wages are up and they're just buying more and more. What? Are you kidding me? Anyways, the next thing is that a fit and healthy actress, according to Daily Mail and Disclosed TV, at the age of 40, is fighting for her life after a stroke caused by AstraZeneca's vaccine's blood clotting side effect. She spent 3 weeks in a coma on a ventilator and is now relearning how to talk and walk. You see, folks, this is what I'm saying. Again, AstraZeneca, I don't want to get into the details of all this, stuff. It's at this point, I mean, it's very clear to see that the mainstream media has lied. You look at a lot of the retractions. You look at a lot of the quote-unquote editorial errors made by Canadian broadcasting companies as well, in addition to American ones. I don't want to get into it because I think we all know the evidence and we see it on a daily basis. The next thing is that New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, when asked by a reporter if she was creating 2 classes of people, with the vaccinated receiving special privileges, confirmed, quote, that is what it is, yup, end quote. Again, New Zealand, Australia, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. More so Australia, obviously, but the next thing is that MPs of the European Union held a press conference to express their opposition to vaccine mandates in the Union. Good. I mean, we need more things like this, in my opinion. And again, folks, let me be clear. I'm not anti-vaccine, nor am I pro-vaccine. It's even not so much that. It's more so, am I anti-COVID vaccine? My issue is the fact that we cannot even have a conversation about the other side of things pertaining to, the potential side effects, and that OSHA and VAERS are not accepting side effect reports. I mean, this is a fact. So I don't think this should get taken down for misinformation for me saying that. I mean, this is what frightens me, why these discussions can't be had. It's very clear. Obviously, Big Pharma's paying off these companies. Look, if you look at Fauci at exactly this time last year being interviewed on CNN, he goes, I don't believe you will ever see a mandated vaccination across the nation. He goes, especially for children, but he goes, even for the general public. He goes, we can't do that. And all of a sudden, get vaccinated. I mean, this is, I can't help but think that, and see that the Biden administration is pushing what Big Pharma wants. Simple as that. The next thing is that protesters against vaccine mandates broke into the Barclays Center in New York City chanting, "Let Kyrie play," referring to Kyrie Irving, the NBA player who has not taken the vaccine. Again, we need things like this. Peaceful protests in this regard, but we need things like this. You see protests in Italy, because now you cannot go to work without needing a mandate in Italy. We see this, right? So there is a substantial amount of pushback, in my opinion. The next thing is that the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen proposes a tax on unrealized capital gains to finance Biden's Build Back Better plans. But I thought Jen Psaki said that it's financed, it's paid for. Again, horseshit, pardon my English. The next thing is that the United States CDC has failed to rebut the, quote, clear, consistent, and irrefutable science demonstrating the superiority of natural immunity compared to vaccine immunity in a formal exchange with the Informed Consent Action Network, end quote. Again, I'm going to leave that there as it is. I'm just going to leave that there. The next thing is that Julian Assange's fiance has called on Australia and other governments to act after the U.S. allegedly plotted to kill the WikiLeaks founder. Regardless if it was Obama, Trump, or Biden's administration, we had all of the military-industrial complex, and intelligence guys wanting to kill Assange. If we're going to be fair and consistent and honest from my understanding of things, look, it's great that she's doing this. Don't get me wrong. Every voice counts. It truly does. I'm not trying to sound corny, but to say realistically Australia is going to do anything, they've always been big brotherly more than most people have liked, generally speaking, from my understanding. Could be wrong, but again, look at what they're doing now with COVID. You think they're going to you think they're going to do something to push the U.S. to stop doing this? The U.S. pushes them. At least that's how I see it, right? The next thing is that 100,000 NHS staff could soon be fired in the UK after Sajid Javid suggests they will soon require compulsory COVID vaccination. Let's see what happens, and if they fire all 100,000 or if a good chunk of them are gone, it's going to be just like in New York. Fire 80,000 nurses? No, but there's a pandemic, right? Word salad. That's what they say. The next thing is Sudan's military has dissolved the cabinet and announced a state of emergency. General Al-Burhan also said the military will appoint a technocratic government to lead the country to elections in July 2023. Many protested this as well. Yeah, there's some major things going on in Sudan right now. There's an alleged coup. The UN is saying this is preposterous. This is a disaster. Let's see how things play out, because it's still happening in real time as we speak and as I'm recording this. The next thing is that the Turkish lira drops to record lows on Erdogan's comments, and Erdogan said on Saturday he had told his foreign ministry to expel the envoys of 10 Western countries, including the U.S., as we reported at the beginning of this episode. Again, as long as he knows what he's doing, I'm just saying, if this is a strategy, fine. Let's see what comes of it. So I'm not trying to be judgmental yet. Let's see what will come to fruition here. By the way, folks, I didn't mean to play down what's happening in Sudan. It's just I know it's such a catastrophe right now that I don't want to report on something that we don't even have any basic fundamental facts on. And even then, I don't like to call them facts unless I'm on the ground myself, because we see how, easily with wordplay and things like that, there is a, manipulation and what have you. But anyways, the next thing is that Israel plans to build 1,300 settlement units in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Prime Minister Shtaye, hopefully I pronounced his name correctly, urged nations to confront Israel on settlement policy, which is illegal under international law. If it's illegal and they still do it, I'm going to be honest with you folks, that just goes to show the power and the influence of Israel, the Mossad, in correspondence with the United States and the impact they have on the world. That's just the truthful reality. Now, I'm not trying to say that is the right thing to do. I'm not saying we should let that slide. But again, this is nothing new per se. Take a look, for example, at the Shah of Iran when he came to the United States after he was outcasted from his country. If you look at some of the footage there and you see what he says about how, the Mossad controls a lot of things. Again, this is not against the Jewish people. Let me be clear. These are against those in the Jewish regime, the Jewish government, the Jewish intelligence agencies. Not all of them. Again, the ones at the top. I'm not trying to downplay or pass judgment on the individuals that simply follow out their. Again, it's tough. It's tough. But I see both sides of this. And if it's illegal, the question is, what's going to really be done about it? I mean, that's the power grab right now. That's the landscape, right? The next thing is that a blast in Uganda, the Ugandan capital of Kampala, has killed 1 and injured 3. Police and President Museveni say the explosion was an act of terrorism, as ISIL claims responsibility for the attack. I'm not sure ISIL, ISIS-K. I don't know. Who even knows if ISIS-K exists? I mean, yeah, this is so sad to see. This is what I mean about even in North America and Europe and in places of more economic stability. Unfortunately, I'm saying in the sense that I wish Uganda was much more, stable in a lot of regards. But generally speaking, this is so sad to see. I can't. What else can I say? I mean, I can go walk out to the to the car right now and get run over by a car, have a car bomb. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. It only drives more paranoia, sadly. The next thing is that children are going to die, and I quote, "The UN warns of acute Afghan food crisis. The UN says more than half of Afghanistan's 39 million population is facing acute food insecurity and marching to starvation. But are they vaccinated?" I added the last part, but are they vaccinated? And I do not mean to make a joke out of these children starving. The point I'm trying to make is, do you see, folks, about how all over the world, people are saying they should not be put in the hospital unless you're vaccinated. Oh, excuse me. People should not be put in the hospital unless vaccinated, and all these different things. So, I mean, when you take a look at this, I mean, the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is that we have more than half of Afghanistan's 39 million population facing food insecurity and marching to starvation. That brings tears to my eyes in a lot of regards. The point of me saying, but are they vaccinated? Again, a sarcastic remark, trying to say, look, I bet you in one billionaire or even someone with hundreds of millions of dollars could help solve that problem in a second. But nobody will, because it would disrupt the balance of the metaphorical chessboard too much. And this is crazy. This is crazy. I should not have the privilege of being able to have all this excess, I guess you could say, access to food of excess amounts, and these people can't. It's atrocious. Sorry, part of my passion there a little bit. The next thing is that Hertz has ordered 100,000 Teslas, making the car maker stock surge. The Tesla Model 3 sedans will be available to rent at Hertz locations in major U.S. markets and parts of Europe in November. Okay, great to see. The next thing is that the Russian agency behind SolarWinds still targeting U.S., according to Microsoft. Yeah, but they're all still targeting each other. They never stop. I mean, the company said the latest wave of attacks were by the same agency responsible for the SolarWinds hack. Are they still on this? I mean, figure out a detailed, comprehensive report. Don't give me none of this analysis by the NSA or the CIA. Again, yeah, you folks know where I stand with that. I mean, that's ridiculous. Of course, they're still trying to hack each other. I'm not trying to defend Russia, but you don't think that the U.S. Whatever. The next thing is that fire has been put under control on a cargo ship spewing toxic gas off of Canada. The blaze on the ship carrying mining chemicals off of British Columbia appears to be under control, Canadian Coast Guard says. Okay. I mean, if it's under control, sure. I mean, I guess that's the best they could do in context relative to the spill happening. So the next thing is that Colombia is going to extradite Otoniel to the U.S. as soon as possible. The U.S. had offered $5 million for capture of Dairo Antonio Usuga, the man Colombia describes as the world's most dangerous drug trafficker. Yet he was picked up, I believe, yesterday. As of the time I'm recording this, the day before. I'm not 100% certain. The next thing is that according to Al Jazeera, some countries seem more willing to engage Taiwan amid concern over Beijing's power, but that does not mean the island is about to come in from the cold. Basically saying that, the Taiwan may want to join the UN, but there's a little bit of conflictual history there. Taiwan left the UN, I think, about 50 years ago, and it was replaced by the People's Republic of China, if I'm not mistaken. And we know how China feels about wanting Taiwan to really be their territory, even if it's not on paper. The next thing is that Saudi Arabia's crown prince suggested using a, quote, poison ring to kill the late King Abdullah, a former top Saudi intelligence official has alleged. In an interview with CBS, Saad al-Jabri said Mohammed bin Salman told his cousin in 2014 that he wanted to do so to clear the throne for his father. There were tensions within the ruling family at the time over the succession. However, the Saudi government has called Mr. Jabri a discredited former official with a long history of fabrication. I'm going to believe Mr. Jabri on this one because it's not just the Saudis that do that. A lot of politicians all over the world do that. I mean, that's just my opinion. Please don't let me persuade you in one way or the other. But the final thing is that the Australian government and telecom giant Telstra are buying a Pacific Telecoms company in a joint venture. The move is being viewed as a political block to China's influence in the region. again, it's a strategy, tit for tat. Try and block China's influence in almost every way, shape, and direction, or corner, if you will. Anyways, folks, that's it for today. We will catch all of you tomorrow and in the coming days for news. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers.